In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war and really unsafe ladders. Alright, so rustic ladders have a really specific look about them. They've got sort of an old-timey thing. They go well with your Wild West games or your World War I trench type stuff. It is just really old-looking wood and some rope, twine. We're going to build them out of craft sticks. Give me huge containers, pretty cheap. Some round toothpicks. They come several hundred to each of these little ammo crates. And some wood glue, but we'll get to that later. I'm sure there's some variation to other uses for them, but use your imagination. So what we're going to use is one craft stick per ladder. These things are several inches long. They've got a distinct wood grain to them, which is going to be both really helpful and sort of hindering us later. And we're just going to split it down the middle with our X-Acto knife safely. Very safely first. So we're going to use the block of safety to avoid slashing our fingers, which I do on a regular basis anyways. And you just want to apply some firm pressure right about in the middle. The grain is going to pull your knife to one side or the other. Just try to keep it in line. It's good if it varies a little bit, gives a little character. And once you've gone about an inch or so in, you can just hold the back, like you see here, and just firmly finish pulling the blade across. And you'll see there at the end, it starts to split. That's good. Just give another swipe. There we go. They don't take that much effort to split, thankfully. And pull, make a wish. All right, so these are going to form the actual planks of the ladder, the two vertical supports. You can see they've got one rough edge, which is where we just cut it. They've also got one smooth edge, which we're going to have to get rid of because it looks unnaturally smooth, especially on this scale. So we're going to take our knife again, safely, and we're just going to gently shave off the smooth part. Now on some of them, just to add some character, we're going to dig in a little bit. So rather than just shaving the edge, we're going to follow the grain. You can see right here, it's starting to angle inwards. So you just let it go. Just kind of let the grain take you where it will. This one specifically, we're going to follow it along. It's going to give us more of a triangle type shape. That's okay. Let that part fall off and just shave off the rest of it. Again, please watch your fingers. War Buddies is not responsible for your injuries. And we'll speed things up here just for a second. You get the other one, shave it off too. So what we're going to end up with are two flat sides. And these again are going to form the supports for the ladder itself. You make it as whatever scale you like. I tend to put them about an inch apart on the 28mm scale. And this board that I use has little about 1/2 inch squares. And so I like to put my rungs about every 1/2 inch. I find the scale works well with Space Marines and cultists and all that. So once we've got that ready, we're going to add in some rungs. It's going to be wood glue and toothpicks. And it's going to be pretty straightforward. You can throw your wood glue onto the nearby surface. In this case, I'm just going to use the safety block of safety because it was handy. Just a little glob there. Wood glue is pretty handy in this case because it dries very firmly, but it also sets relatively quickly, so it's going to turn to a gel pretty fast. I'm just going to use a toothpick. Going to gather up a little bit there on the edge. Very nice. You want a little bit of a blob of it, just enough for a toothpick to settle into. Give yourself a little bit of room at the top for your first rung. And then same thing on the other side. Scoop up some glue. Drop a little bead there. Very nice. Try not to make a mess. Then we're just going to select a toothpick. And with plenty of overlap on either side, we're going to rest it on top of those two beads. You can see now the board comes in really handy trying to keep everything straight on this. Give a little push. Should see a little bit of glue on the top and bottom of it. Fiddle around with it a little bit. Ladder's going to be kind of unstable at this point because there's only one rung. There's going to be plenty of room, but that's okay. You want a lot of overhang here. Then we're just going to repeat the process over and over and over again. You can do this for as many rungs or as however high you want the ladder. In this case, I just need something that's going to get the models out of the trenches that I have on my board. So I'm just going to do about 4, maybe 5. Let's add in one more for funsies. There we go. All right, so that dry takes about 30 minutes or so to fully set. I'm going to come back in, and you've now got a pretty sturdy ladder. Like I said, the wood glue holds together pretty well. Now we're going to shave off the sides, and for that we're going to use a rotary tool. It's my preferred method. You hit this little sanding disc. I don't know what it's actually called, so I'm going to call it a spinny whirly dervish. And you turn it on, just spins really fast. It's a nice little sanding tool. I really recommend having one because rotary tools are just fantastic. Just try to be safe and not cut your fingers off. You apply a little bit of pressure there. Very, very carefully. Very carefully. You get the picture. And we're going to speed this one part up too. The toothpicks are going to come off pretty fast. You can save little tips, little spiky bits that come off the top because they make really good additions to orc stuff or chaos things or anywhere you need spikes. And let's face it, who doesn't need spikes? When you're done with those, figure out how high you want the ladder. Nip off a bit of the top and the bottom. And there you go. Starting to look like a ladder now. So now we've got your basic ladder shape. It's still pretty pale wood. It's not really treated. It looks fake, to be honest, but we're getting there. What we do have though are these little fiddly bits on the end. The top, bottom, and here on the rungs. And that's just where the wood splintered. Now wood doesn't scale very well at this range, so it's still gonna look like splinters. So we're gonna grab our sandpaper here. Pardon the transition, I had to run out to the shed. And we're just gonna gently buff off those little weird bits. It's also going to improve pretty well on the ends to make it look worn, like it's seen a lot of use. And again, all you do is just knocking off the little bits of hair and splinters and wood and fuzz and all that. It's good stuff. All right, so now we have our basic ladder shape. Now we just need to make it look like a ladder, so to speak. So for that, we're going to use some Citadel Nuln oil. One of my favorite things in existence. And it's going to act a little bit differently than you're used to Nuln oil reacting. So when it comes to a model, you want to be kind of sparing with it. You want to be very careful not to dump a whole bunch on there. Here, you're going to do the exact opposite. So we've got the basic shape here. We've already given it a good shake. Get yourself quite a bit. Just load up the brush. You make a mess, it's fine. We're hobbyists, we make mess. Just load up the brush. And the first thing you're going to notice is that this wood, the grain in it is going to drink up that ink. As soon as you start applying it, it's just going to start soaking it in. And that's good. That's really good. Because what it does is it dulls down the overall look, gives it this black, weathered, kind of almost rotted look, but it makes it stand out. It looks more like wood, less like a craft project. Which, I mean, technically it is, but you know, let's not split hairs. Just give it a good coating overall. You are going to notice that the wood glue, the little beads of that, are not going to retain the black ink. That's okay, we're going to be covering them up with rope anyways. So don't worry about that too much. So that's going to take a while to dry because it's all soaked up and it's ink. So we're just going to let it sit, go watch a program, go do something entertaining. You know how to occupy your time. You're a hobbyist. All right, now we're back. The ink has had a chance to dry. The wood's got this really cool kind of old weathered look to it now. It just looks old. You can do this with a brown ink like Agrax Earthshade. It gives you a similar effect, but more of a rich, sort of a live wood and less of a, you know, dead rotted look, which is a whole different sort of feng shui. But that is the basic ladder. So now we're just going to add some rope and twine to make it look like it's holding together. So this is kind of washing out on the camera, but it is a hemp twine. Comes in little rolls, really cheap from your local hobby store. And it's sort of a pale brown color. It's really, really light, kind of like the wood was when we started. And we're just going to lop off a long piece of it just to make it easier to work with. Now you can tie this up however you like. Bring in some super glue. We'll point out how that works here in a minute. You can tie it up however you want. The basic version I use is just the little X cross we saw earlier. So we're going to lay the rope on the back of the ladder, sort of up at an angle. facing up and in. We're going to hold that still with your thumb. You're going to bring the rest of it right around the front and back around. And then one more time. So 2 loops around the front. And here on the back it's going to look a little scraggly. That's fine, it's a scraggly type ladder. But on the front it starts to make this cool looking little coil. So once you got 2 loops on that, don't lose track of it. You're going to bring it around and drop it down below the rung and just kind of pull it through, which can be easier than it looks. All right, so now that we're there, we're going to bring it back across for 2 more loops just to give it that neat old-timey type feel to it. There you go. Just a simple little X pattern to look like someone's tied this thing together. Of course, the wood glue is holding it up, but it looks neat. Now, rather than pull off some little super high-speed tying a knot trick here on the back, instead, we're just going to hold some tension on it. We're going to grab our super glue, and we're going to very, very carefully just let a drop of super glue soak into the hemp. So just like the ink soak into the wood, as soon as the glue touches this, it's going to immediately saturate it. You're going to see it change color. It's going to get a bit darker. That's good. The glue is also going to dry very, very quickly. And what this is going to do is it's going to turn the whole knot into essentially a solid object. So it's not going to unravel on you. It's not going to come apart. Just put little drops wherever you need them. Wherever you see the hemp is still really pale, just put a little drop there and give it a few seconds to dry. It goes pretty fast. Hold the tension there, wait for it to dry a little bit. You can use some scissors. I like to use no clippers because it's a really easy to manage point, and you just clip it off. There we go. That's all there is to that. You're just going to repeat that process a whole bunch of times for every single rung there. Obviously that's going to be kind of boring. So what we're actually going to do is I'm going to do a cut right here, and we're going to come back after I finish the other 7. All right, and we're back. We've now got all 10 rungs looped on, glued. You get those scraggly bits, you can just put some glue on them, mash them back down, and just hold it with the back of your knife just so you don't glue yourself to your project. And that is your rustic ladder. It's pretty simple. It's dirt cheap, which is the way I like it. Hope y'all enjoyed. Next week we'll do some industrial ladders, more Shadow War terrainish. Till then, stay crafty and have a good one.